Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to cover the following VFX. I've covered how to create the main Rasengan sphere here in my last video, but today I'm going to be showcasing the other VFX that I couldn't get around to. I'm trying to separate out the videos so that they're not as not as long. So yeah, I'm just going to be showcasing how to create this sort of floor smoke effect. This is something that I would spawn at the player's feet. So during the effect itself, if I were scripting this, I would probably place the part at the player's feet and most likely weld it to their person so that it could follow them. So it looks something like that. So it's like giving off, it's just a visual flair. It's just for a little bit extra for this effect. And the good thing is this effect isn't actually too difficult to follow. It's just this particular texture that I've got here. So this is a flip book, just like the other textures that I used in my previous video. So these two in particular. It's just a collection of images and they have to be packed into a specific size for it to work. And the new feature that Roblox had added a couple of years back now allowed you to use these. So yeah, I'm gonna basically showcase how to create this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with a brand new part, and I'm just gonna call this floor. Whoops, floor smoke. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the transparency to 1, and just for if we need to use this in the future, we're gonna set the cancel light to false and the anchor to true just for the moment. That way, if you spawn the part in, it doesn't just instantly fall to the floor if you do start to script with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to showcase how you can sort of get this effect just by using this one texture. Now this particular part actually has two particle emitters, but they are using the same texture ID. They're just a little different from each other, just to give a sort of variation. So I'm going to take the texture ID here, and what we're going to do is we're going to quickly create an attachment just so that we have everything spawning in the center of the part, and we're going to pop in a particle emitter, and I'm going to pop in the URL, so we've got that there. So that's the texture ID, and we're just going to mess with the lifetime for this. So I like to just default things to like half a second, stops it from moving as much, and I like to put it to a low speed to begin with, just so that we've got something to work with. And I like to put the size a little big just so I can see what I'm doing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the flipbook layout, and we're going to do this. It's 4x4 this texture, so we need to set it to that. And if we do something like maybe one shot or something, we may need to tweak this because there is so many spawning. So if I do one at a time, we can sort of see what this looks like. So, that could be used for an effect also. So this is just a side note. You can actually keep this effect and, have this be used for any number of reasons. I'm sort of using this flipbook texture in the outside. You can see they're sort of curling up and away. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing there. So what I'm gonna emphasize here is anyone who's following along, please try and download the particle emitter emit plugin, as well as the let me just see here, there's another plugin that apologies about that, I was trying to find the plugin, but yeah, it turns out that the plugin is actually it's called ROS plugin emitter. It's not actually in my plugins folder, sadly. It's something you have to install separately into Roblox Studio, but yeah, that's I'll put a link in the description to that. Basically what it's going to give you is this edit particle here. So if anyone was following along in my last video and wasn't too sure what this is or where to get it, it's a plugin. It just lets you scale things to a different size. So the default size, the maximum size, sorry, that you can put things to is 10 inside of Roblox by default, but you can push it higher with this plugin. And the plugin here for the particle emitter emit gives you the emit function here, which just basically spawns particles for you. We're going to move on to this section here, which is going to be covering the impact textures. But yeah, just to give you a heads up on that one. So so what I'll do is I'm just going to name this smoke, smoke one probably, because I'm going to try and copy the last one that we have, this one here, and we're going to need more of the more rate, so I'm going to put this to like 50. It looks a little silly at the moment, but the nice thing with using attachments is if you play around with the spread angle, you can get some good sort of effects going with it. So if you bump up the speed, you can sort of get stuff like this. And the reason I asked for everyone who's watching to download this particle editor, if you click on this, it gives you a visual representation of where the particles are going. So it's going in sort of like a 90-degree fan shape like this, because we've set the x-axis to 90. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do like a 360-degree angle, but on the floor, if that makes sense. So if I take this away and put 90 in here, it does a fan shape on the other axis. So if we do something like 180, so that's spawning all of them. But the problem is it's on its side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this to the part, and we're just simply going to rotate the part. It's as simple as that. So if we just rotate the part, so if we rotate the part by, let's say 90 to 90 or negative 90 or whatever, we do that. So it's now on the floor. So yeah, 180 on either the x or the y axis, and leave the other at 0, because if you put values in here, you sort of get what we had before, where it's sort of like a sphere shape that you're getting. So if we keep that at 0, you could, if you wanted to, obviously give it whatever value you like. You could obviously offset it a little and give it like 15, something like that. Maybe 5, just so it's coming off the floor slightly. We'll give it a better speed, so it can go out further, like so. We're going to have to mess around with the size and the color and the transparency. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this so that it's invisible when it starts, so it's sort of fading in. We'll make it go into a solid shape like that, and then at the very end we're going to fade it out, and we can play with the line a little, so we can do that, so it's something like that. And what I'll do also is I'm just going to mess with the size initially here. So if we put it to something like that, and yeah, perhaps something like that, who knows. And this is where this plugin comes in handy, because as you could see, I could only go up to like a value of 10. If I push this line all the way up, you can get like much bigger particles. So I'm just playing with this just to see what we can get. It's quite a lot, so I'm gonna mess with the rotation just to give it a bit more, you know, more range. So when the particles are spawning, sort of getting that. So I'll also give it some rotation speed, because I think that's what I did as well. We do that. Perhaps we'll reverse it, so we'll do like, it's a bit too fast, so we'll do like negative 150, something like that. And we can give it like a light emission, or we could take off the light influence just to sort of make it more kind of like smoke-ish. And we can mess with the transparency even more, because the values I like to input are just like placeholder values. So you can do something like that, kind of fade it out. And if we increase the brightness, you can sort of control the aspect of it. So if we increase the speed even more, let's say we put it to something like 75, so it's got a bigger area and distance to work with. Whoops. And if I check the other part real quick, so if I go into smoke, so what have I done here? So yeah, I've changed some of the orientation as well on this. I've changed the size. So yeah, it's going from a large value to a small value. Transparency here, yeah, it's kind of invisible mostly, because you don't want the smoke to be overbearing. Yeah, one isn't enabled. So yeah, that's what the second one looks like. So we can disregard this one. So yeah, this is the one that we want. So I'll delete that. So yeah, so this is the smoke one. So we're facing camera. The size is going from large to small again. Transparency. Yeah, so yeah, okay. And I've gave it quite a large rate, but it probably won't be efficient for that for your game. And I've also did a rotation speed. and I've also did the same sort of idea with the spread angle, I just rotated it differently. So if I come to the smoke floor, we can just edit the size of the part. What I'll do is I'll try and mimic what we had before. I'm going to have to edit the particle size, like so. So if we go from a large value first to a smaller value, we get something looks a bit like that. And if we select the correct one, sorry, if we could maybe try and play with the squish size as well. It might not look the greatest with smoke, sadly, because we're rotating it as well. It's going to look a little funky. And if we do something, we can even edit the flipbook. So if we do like a loop instead, we can control how fast this goes. Do something like that. So yeah, but because we've locked it to the part also, if you do move around with it, it will stay where it's spawning, which is handy. You can also mess with the color if you wanted like colored smoke, for instance. You can also add like a point light or anything else you really desire for this type of effect. Because it's like a solid white, we could push it down to like a grey value like this, sort of get that smoke kind of what you're looking for. Let's see here, so we can do something with the transparency just like I did before. So controlling the transparency really does change how it behaves. So you can give it an envelope as well, just to kind of give it more of an offset and things like that. So you can actually make it, not spawn in until much later and kind of fade it in like so, like that, something like that. So yeah, not really too sure how this is going to turn out, but yeah, that's kind of how I went about doing the smoke for this. So if I come down here, place it down like so, you can sort of see we're getting this sort of effect going. And it's always good to also kind of uh, take reference from what you're doing with other effects that you're working with, because trying to eyeball it is sometimes not the best idea. So if I increase the rate again to like 100 or something, so it's more turbulent like that, that's sort of what we're getting now. And we can change the speed as well, so we can put that to like 35. So some of them are a little slower, some of them are a little faster. So you can do some offsets and things like that. We can change some of the rotation speeds so that it's not all just coming out in the one go. So if I do the max value here of like 150, we're getting like a lot more randomness inside of here. And because this is just a simple basic tutorial, it's not something to cover in depth, but you can mess around with this a lot more. You can use better textures, you can use different flipbook smoke textures, there's a whole bunch of them out there. We can mess with the offset as well. If something doesn't feel quite right, you can put it behind the player by doing like a -1. You can bring it forwards by doing like a 4 or something, so it's like more visible on the floor. That sort of thing. So it could be used for a lot more stuff than just smoke on the floor. It could be used for a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, that's sort of how I went about doing this one. It's a little bit more turbulent, this one. It's a little bit more faster and it curls up towards the end. It's probably just because of messing around with the settings and gave it like different lifetimes. Yeah, it's got much shorter life and things like that, so it's not getting a chance really to do a lot of what it's trying to. So if I do like 0.2 for instance, you see how it goes a lot faster, but then I would have to edit all of the other values. So if I do like 0.5 or even 1, it does do stuff like that. So you need to find what works for you and your effect, and you need to sort of play with the settings and textures. But this is the approach that I would take, trying to create like smoke on the floor if I was doing something like this. That's sort of what I came up with here. So the next thing I'm going to be covering is the impact. So this is the impact here. So all I've really done is it's the same sort of idea. I've got a part. It's half transparent at the moment, so I can see what I'm doing with it, and it's just an attachment with 3 different particle emitters with these 3 separate textures inside of it, which I found online. And if I enable the particles just to show what we're working with, I did this in the last video, but that's sort of what we're doing. So that's what I'm going to try and showcase, and the reason that it's disabled at the moment, so if I turn these off, this is why I asked everyone to get the emit particle plugin, because what you can do is if you highlight all of these particles, you can plug in a number up here on the top left, and basically what that's going to do for us is it's going to spawn the particles very quickly, like that, and it's sort of like an explosion of particles. It looks not the best, but it gives you an idea of what it will look like if you try and emit from, say, a script, or from, from any sort of emitter. So you can do that. So that's how you do like explosions or immediate effects. Inside of a script, you can just enable these for a certain period of time and then disable them like so. And obviously this is a really rubbish looking, impact. There isn't any extra flare, there's no debris, there's no smoke, but when you add it all together, it may look okay, it may look passable as an effect, but yeah, this is just to showcase how you can go about it. So yeah, so I'll start from the beginning here. So I'll do a part with a attachment, and we shall do a particle emitter. And for the time being, we're just going to use this texture here. So it's just a circular ring decal, and I'll be placing all of these into the description box, and I've also open sourced this place. I've updated it with the most recent changes as well today. So yeah, if any of you are wondering where you can get this place, you can just go to the description and download it to play around with it yourself, and these textures come with it. So let's see, we don't want any light emission, I don't think, at the moment. So we'll do like half a second again. That's usually my go-to. We will quickly anchor it, take the part can collide off, and we shall do transparency to 1. What we'll do here is we shall take the speed all the way down, so something like that. And basically what we're going for here is we want a large spread angle, so we want like a 360-degree angle with this, and we want to change the orientation to something like velocity perpendicular or velocity parallel. It really depends what you're going for. That basically frees up the particle to move around in a 360-degree space. So if I start playing with the size here, so if I go from like a small value to a large value, you can see we're sort of getting this. So I'm going to use this particle plugin again, and we're going to size this up beyond the maximum value of 10. So you can kind of see what I did here. So it's emitting too much particles, but if that's what you want for your effect, that's something you can edit yourself. So we're going to mess with the transparency here just to sort of clean this up a little. So I'll fade them in. We'll keep them alive for a little bit, and then we'll fade them off like so. So something like that. And if you want them to be more solid, you can drag the line down and shorten this distance. You can take a lot more time here and really perfect this, but yeah, this is just something to get us going. A lot of this is just experimentation of trying different things. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of light emission. I didn't do this with the last one, but it's something interesting. And because this effect here is sort of blue in color, I'm also going to copy that sort of color scheme. So we're going to take the gradient and we're going to set it so that it comes, so when it spawns it's sort of this hue of blue. And we could maybe try playing around with some of these settings. I think going into like an off shade sort of teal color is also quite good because it kind of goes into a white, which is nice. Okay, because if you can picture it inside of a script, all you're going to be doing here really is just enabling and disabling this extremely fast. So in game, it's going to look like something like this, and then it's going to vanish. So you don't need a lot, but yeah, it's just enough to give it the nice effect that you're looking for. It's maybe a bit too much, so if we do like 10, we do something like that. If you want them to be a little bit faster, you can increase the speed and see what that does for you. It may push them around a little bit strange because of the fact that we're pushing them out in a 360-degree angle as well. Because if I click on edit particle and we increase the speed, you can see these sort of lines that we had in the last particle, and it's pushing them all out in a way, so we don't really want that. We want all these lines bunched together like this. So I like to just give it a small value, and it's nice to visualize and see what you're doing there instead of just guessing. This plugin that I'm using also has an emit feature here. You can set the emit to whatever you want, but yeah, it's up to yourself, whatever one you want to use. So yeah, I'll just continue on here. So that's looking okay, I suppose. We'll just duplicate this, and what we'll do is we'll grab one of the other textures. So this one here, this is an interesting texture. A lot of what I do is I just experiment with things, see what looks good, and then everyone tries to copy what they see on like reference art and reference images and games that inspire and things like that. So um, don't it looks okay. So yeah, don't be disheartened if when you begin it doesn't look the best. But I'm hoping with these videos it's sort of a stepping stone for you to become better. Um, that's the end goal anyway, because I'm not the best at this, so I just want to showcase what I know and pass it along. So if I bring this down a little, it's a little much. So I think with this texture, what I was trying to go for was, because the Rasengan itself is sort of turbulent inside with all of these like lines and things like that, and all the winds going everywhere, I was trying to kind of make that sort of explode outwards like this. And if I do that, yeah, so we could try maybe play with the squash. It doesn't look as good, sadly. What could we do with this? We could maybe play with the rotation a little. So if I do like negative 360 to 360, that's going to give it some more angles to work with. If we increase the rate of the center one, we can get something like that. And obviously you can use this for any particular effect you would like. It's not anything. I'm just using this for this Rasengan, but this could be anything. This could be like a punch or, you know, an explosion effect of your own. We're going to take the decal. This is the same decal that we used in the Rasengan video. It's just the slashes from earlier, so it's the exact same texture as this one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly throw something together. So we'll copy that, and it's basically the same idea because all of the textures are kind of copying and cloning from each other. So if I duplicate this one, pop in the texture ID here, and if we mess around with the size a little bit, so if we go into here, mess around with the size, so we'll put that way big, you can get something like that. And because we've just cloned the other textures and particle emitters, they all have the same color and they all have the same light emission and things like that, and they're all stacked on top of each other with the same Z offset, so you can play with that as well. So if we put like a value in like .1 for this one and maybe like negative .1, it pushes them all away from each other so they're not overlapping. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this video. It's not super detailed like the last one, but I'm hoping it gives you guys some ideas of what you can do with just some simple settings. I hope I've taught at least something that's useful for people who are beginning. You can take this a whole lot further. You can make it look really good, and that's the aim for this. This is just for beginners only. So if you're watching this and you know you can do something better, I encourage you to, keep going and keep improving, because the more things that get added to Roblox, the better it's going to be for everybody. And I'm hoping with these videos it sort of teaches you what you can do at the moment. So yeah. The next set of videos could be more of these types of videos, or I may move more into the scripting side of it. I'm not 100% sure on that at the moment. The scripting does take a lot of time to really understand, and it does require an intermediate level of knowledge, sadly, because you're working with VFX, so you need to know a real good amount of solid basics when it comes to scripting. I've tried scripting videos in the past and they don't do as well. So I may stick to the VFX only part of this, but if you guys want a scripting guide included with this, I can go into it. It'd be a more advanced video. So yeah, just a heads up about that. So yeah, just keep an eye out for more videos from myself, because I'm going to be more active and I'm just going to showcase everything I know. It may not be perfect, but yeah. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.